Wow signal, 1977. The Hebraic interpretation of the numbers, because Hebrew is a numeric language. And we're going to have a bird's eye look into it just for the moment. On the far right is the Menorah, which is in the orange configuration. Here, this is the menorah used in the temple. And the temple also had the table of showbread, which is depicted here. It also had a couple of altars, the altar of incense, and then I think there was another altar within. So could possibly be the altar of incense. This is the long veil that separates the Ark of the Covenant, which is in this column. And then there's another, perhaps another altar in here. So this is the 30,000 foot view. Now let's go in for another peek. And then I'll tell you what I think it all means. So we're going to focus in on here. This is 62, or inverted is 92. And it has a pairing down here with a U, because the code is EQU. And so this is uranium 92. This is U down here, 92 up here with that 6 inverted. This is Q1 and J1 on the Beal code. That's a J right there. I put a note here for plutonium. We'll just put that to the side for a moment so you can see what I'm talking about. This is J right here. This is J1. And in the Beal code of the Declaration of Independence deciphers, Q1 is 84, which is created. And J1 is 48, which is in the Declaration of Independence, the name of God, or the title of God. Because God has lots of different names, so it could be just the title. Anyway, he's hiding. It's a 48, there we go. It's also the 10th. It's also the 10th letter. And so within this code here, we have looked at the uranium, 92. Now let's look down at the plutonium. Plutonium is a man-made element, and it was created in World War II and for World War II. So not only does this have social ramifications, it also has mathematical and scientific ramifications. Here's 239 right here in this diagonal, and this is the 200, this is the 30, and this is the 6, which is inverted into a 9 up here. And this is plutonium. This comes from the menorah, the speed of light, which is celeritas. Within the E equals MC squared, we have celeritas. The C for celeritas is up here. And it could be at the very top of the code, which is the 2 and 1. I also saw it earlier here today. For C is 3. And this could be, well, we'll just say this celeritas is up here, and it's in the speed of light. Because E equals MC squared refers to the speed of light. And this is the code that I was deciphering earlier that was helping me to understand the equation within this Ark of the Covenant. So the equation is basically in here. EQU is the equation for E equals MC squared. So we have the E, but where's the M, you ask? Well, it's right here. And it's right next to the U. It's 13. It's going Hebrew style, 1, 3. And it's right next to the U, which is the uranium, which is at the center of this code. So, I mean, I didn't like take measurements and find out exactly, you know, what it was. But if we did take a measurement, let's see what it is. So this is like, we'll say it's 21. So the center of the code is going to have to be like 10 or 11. Actually, it says it's right around the J. Between the J and the U is like the center. Between the U and the J, that's the center. Anyway, within the midst of the garden, do not touch the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, which is uranium. It can do good and it can do evil, and it's U13. The mass. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't explain that. The M is the 13th letter. M is the 13th letter in the English language, and this 13 is depicting the M for E equals MC squared. So this is here. And the U31, this is 13. This is the mass of uranium. Now, what happens to the mass of uranium according to this code? Well, we look here from light, and something's being directed out of it. And this is of course what happens. The nucleus of the uranium gets bombarded. It gets bombarded by neutrons. The nucleus it gets bombarded by neutrons. Neutron has a mathematical, or N is the 14th letter, and it's hiding there again. I got a lot of things that are not like I'm not obfuscating. It's just that the way that I configured it, you couldn't tell exactly what that is. Of course, we know what the M is between the N and the L, right? So I don't have it labeled at all. Anyway, it's between the M is between the M and the O, which is N. And interestingly enough, it's 16, which is the 16th letter is P, which is the sign for plutonium. So both M or N is 14, and this is 16th letter, and N, its first number is 16, which again is plutonium. So little play on symbols there. So anyway, this is the uranium center. This is the mass, and this is U92, uranium 92. In this it goes across the veil, it goes across the veil here, which means the breaking. There's a breaking and a rendering, and as Christ took the atomic blast in himself, his flesh was rent. So we have a rending here. We also have a rending here for 239. This is a major one. Now, the different bombs that came from the speed of light in World War II that they were testing in New Mexico, and they exploded in Japan. Plutonium, I think, was in the second one. I think the A bomb was in New Mexico, and I think they used plutonium in Japan. I'm not sure. I studied that so many times and so many years ago, I've forgotten, which is kind of a surprise. And so we have plutonium coming in to the mass as well. Plutonium goes right through the mass here, which is the center of the nucleus. So the mass in an atom is the nucleus in the atom is the mass. So we have plutonium coming right out, and then U is right next to it, and it is like exploding upwards. So that's fantastic. Now, of the E equals MC squared, or the equation, we have the E and the 5 here in the WOW code are the same. They're just inversions of one another, and they're in Hebrew they're windows. So it's the letter Hey. The 5th letter is the letter Hey, and it's a window. And so I think what this is showing us, is that there's a window above and window below, just like it said about the Ark of the Covenant, which is also right here. The arc meaning that atomic configuration of the electrons surrounding the nucleus. It makes an arc. It makes a, well, it's not a perfect circle or even in a perfect orbit. The electron is really quite fascinating, but I think that it creates a, well, obviously it creates a field, and that field is described in the Bible, I think, as an arc. That's what I've been helped to see. It helps me to picture that. And so we have two windows. We have an upper window here and then a lower window. We have plutonium, we have uranium, and of course uranium's up here as well. And the Q1 and the J1 are, see, there's a Q1 right there and a J1, and those are the God created. And then plutonium coming out, and it's inferring that it's coming out of the speed of light. Fine constant, I think, is 3.71. Dr. Friedman, whatever his name is in California, I keep forgetting who that is. He said this 371 is a mysterious, wonderful number. Nobody knows really what it means. And we have two altars here. We have this altar here, and then perhaps another altar right here. I thought that the two grand conjunctions had something to do. One was 12 something and one was 1621. So I think 16 here was one, and then 16 was right here. 1621. This was one grand conjunction. And then another one was 12 something. So I think the 12 one was up here. And I'm not sure exactly how the planets, because those conjunctions are with Uranus and Jupiter and Saturn. And so I'm not too sure what they have to do with the splitting of the atom. The 16th letter is P for plutonium. There's a 16 here. And then uranium is down here, and that's uranium 92. And U is the 21st letter. So this code infers that in 1977, as the 20th anniversary of our founding was celebrated. Well, it's actually 1777. They were still fighting. 1776 is when they declared war on England. As I've said earlier, England has a grand demise happening this year. I don't know if it's going to be through the sons and them getting their mother's death vindicated. If it's just the city of London that's going to be annihilated, I'm not sure. But they definitely have one coming, bad and very big. And this shows that the anniversary of the WWII code, this looks back, the code looks back to the anniversary, 1776, but also looks forward in 2021 to England's stranglehold on USA demolished, as I was reporting earlier, and looks back to World War II with the splitting of the atom, and how E equals MC squared is embedded in this, and how configured it is on a, not just a grid, but like a puzzle or a matrix. Looks back to World War II and the splitting of the atom equation and the elements, and with the Declaration of Independence and the Beale Code as a modifying ciphertext. So that was 1812 was the Beale Code. So the Jewish temple furnishings, the ark, the menorah, the table of showbread, the veil, the altars are all depicted. And so this of course infers that that's what Solomon's temple was all about. It was to reflect how the splitting of the atom would eventually be done by Jewish scientists, and how it is relatable in 2021, as well as forecasting the future and seeing this incredible puzzle played out before our eyes.